Hiring the right team member. Oh, you see that question there. Your head's spinning. I understand it. Let's start out with the basics of what it means to hire the right team member. My 4 tenets of a great business and a great team member follow these 4 principles. Number 1, you only hire people who agree to embrace with your mission statement. So hopefully you have a mission statement. Number 2, only hire people that agree to embody your core values. Number 3, there's a book out by Patrick Lencioni. It's called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. That should be mandatory reading for every team member within their first 30 days of starting with you. The 4th tenet of a great business is you only want to hire self-managed and self-disciplined people. There are your 4 tenets of a great business. You must take those 4 tenets, please write them down, or go back and rewatch it and write them down. Write them down because your entire interview process is based upon that. Those tenets. You see, it's not about just hiring people, because you've had people that were a bad culture fit. You've had cancers on your team. By following the 4 tenets of a great business, you are going to start eliminating that cancer from your team. You'll have a much happier team. A happier team produces more. So we looked at the 4 tenets. Now, let's talk about the actual interview process. You've posted your ad. You get inundated with resumes. First thing you do is, you scan the resumes, and number 1, if you're a team leader, it necessarily doesn't have to be you scanning the resumes. You should have somebody else on your team scan those resumes first. You just got to communicate with them what it is you're looking for. So if you want real estate experience, let them scan it all, looking for only people with real estate experience. They review the resumes. They will then give those people that they believe would be a good interview for you, they'll give them to you. What should happen next? We should send these people a personality profile link. I prefer the DISC profile. There's many of them out there, but if you're not currently using one, please go find a source. Number 2, you should never interview somebody unless they filled out an application for you. Here's why that's important. People submit a resume. A resume is what they want you to know, and if people were only half as good as their resume stated, God, we'd be in heaven. But the application's important because that tells us what we need to know. So you have the DISC, you have the application, and you have your resume. Somebody else should be doing initial interviews, as every candidate you hire should have a minimum of 2 interviews, preferably 3. How does that work? If you're hiring an operations person, my recommendation would be have one of your operations people, once they get the application, do a cursory scan of it, call the candidate up, okay, and just review the application. What we're looking for is, if you have to leave a voicemail, okay, how long did it take them to return your call? Because all of the clock starts ticking as soon as we make that first phone call. If your support staff likes what they hear, then they should invite them in. By the way, their phone interview should last maybe 5 to 10 minutes max. If they like what they hear, then invite them in for a face-to-face with you. A face-to-face really should take no more than 30 minutes. Before you interview, though, you better know what position you're hiring for. What is the compensation? Because I want to know about compensation up front, because if the comp plan that I'm proposing to this candidate doesn't work, I'd rather know sooner rather than later. Let's not go through the whole interview process before we state what the income is. I want to know up front that the income fits within what their budgetary means are. So you now are sitting in front of them. You need to have a list of interview questions. You have different interview questions for salespeople and different interview questions for support staff. So please make sure we have a separate set of questions. Once you've done an interview, trust somebody else. If you have a coach, your coach should be involved in the interview process as well. Then you take the 3 interviews that were done, you compile the information and make a decision. I say from the time the first interview starts, your decision should be made within 72 to 96 hours, because these people are looking for a job, a place to go. So we need to be very quick in this process, because somebody else may come along and find that talent and take it from you. If you're hiring salespeople and operational people have different profiles. So please make sure you're hiring the person with the correct DISC profile to fit the position. Ideally, for a salesperson, I'm looking for an I profile, an IIS, ID. For an operations person, I'm looking for an S, an SC, or an SI. Those are the basic tenets of great hiring principles, and when you follow them, your life will be happier. Let's go make money.